Please join me in welcoming Vanita Gupta.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here, and I have to say, I think this is just the dinner and event that I needed right about now. So it's such an honor to be in this room with so many friends and partners in the work. Can we give another round to Hoda, who's just a phenomenal leader? It is a time where leadership from women at the helm of really important organizations that are doing critical justice work could not be more important, and Hoda has been fierce. And I want to thank MPAC and Salam and others in the room. Can the staff of MPAC stand up? I just want to really acknowledge their critical and vital efforts. You guys are being shy. Let's just give them a round of applause at least. So Hoda, thank you for that very kind introduction and that video that brought me back to a whole bunch of press conferences that I had been in front of back in the day at a very different kind of Justice Department. But look, I am really deeply, deeply humbled to be here tonight to accept the Empowering Voices Award. And I want to thank Salam and Hoda and others in the extraordinary staff and the board of the Muslim Public Affairs Council for this honor. As Hoda mentioned, I first got to know MPAC really well through these regular meetings that we had at the Civil Rights Division, critical meetings to talk about some of the most difficult issues facing religious minorities and racial minorities of the day. And I was always so impressed by the work that MPAC did in communities all across the country. Let me start, though, by saying why exactly tonight is kind of a balm for my soul, and that's that, we've had a few difficult weeks, let alone a few difficult months in this country. And even as we, though, continue to process some of our emotions coming out of some of the big fights of the last several weeks and months, I believe very much that despair is the enemy of justice. And in the fight to keep Brett Kavanaugh off of our nation's highest court, we waged in coalition across communities and across organizations a really righteous, if sometimes gut-wrenching, effort that required so much from each and every one of us. And I know MPAC was there in the coalition at our side. And in the process, though, while, as Hoda said, we don't always get the outcomes that we want, there was no question about the value and importance of that fight, because we were able to build an infrastructure to protect our courts and our democracy. And we were able to lift up survivors in the fight to end sexual violence and sexual assault. And we forced civil rights into the center of a national conversation that needed to be had. And because of that, the final vote was far closer and harder fought than what any one of us could have possibly imagined. But know this, that the fight continues, and I am honored to work alongside MPAC and all of you as we double down on our charter in these perilous times. I can tell you this, that the cause for civil and human rights is very personal to me. As the daughter of Indian immigrants, the wife of a Vietnamese refugee, I know what it feels like to be made to feel like you and your loved ones don't belong, that somebody is trying to redefine who belongs in this country, and because of what you look like or because of where you worship. And it's why I'm really grateful to all of you who are at the forefront of our movement to honor the voices and values of American Muslims and all people in America, because your work matters and it makes a difference every single day to the most marginalized and vulnerable among us. But even as MPAC leads transformative change, the American Muslim communities are facing incredibly trying times. Amid divisive public dialogue, we're seeing criminal threats against mosques, we're seeing harassment in schools, we're seeing violence targeting American Muslims and individuals perceived to be Muslim. And throughout my career, I've been grateful to have worked in organizations and in offices that have been committed to ensuring that people in America, everyone in America, feels safe, supported, and free. And when I was at the Department of Justice, my team worked to make the promise of equality real for the American Muslim community, from prosecuting religious-based hate crimes to preventing bullying and harassment in schools. And we tried to stand for everyone who was made to feel inferior or like they didn't belong. and now at the Leadership Conference for Civil and Human Rights, where I work alongside my fantastic colleague, Ashley Allison, who's a sister with me in the fight and who's here tonight, we continue to carry out that creed. And I'm really, really proud that MPAC is now a member of the Leadership Conference. The Leadership Conference was forged 67 years ago out of a notion that the fight for civil rights in this country could not be won and waged by one group alone, but would have to be waged in coalition. And that remains true. Everything that major and landmark that has ever happened in this country has happened because coalitions have cut across communities, have cut across organizations to make things happen and to develop progress in this country. And so to have MPAC in our coalition is a really important thing. Your steadfast efforts not only support the American Muslim community, but really you're protecting people of every faith and background. And you bring us as a nation and as a people closer to our founding ideals of equality and justice for all. But despite the shining advocate, that progress that has been made by many of us in this room, there's just no denying that we live in such challenging times. The current administration masquerades racist rhetoric as national security concerns, and some of our country's top advisors scapegoat American Muslims and immigrants to advance a nationalist agenda. And as we saw in the decision Trump versus Hawaii, even our Supreme Court has refused to learn some of the tragic lessons of our history. But we won't lose hope, because we know that America is made better by our immigrant neighbors and histories, that America is made stronger by the refugees who came to these shores to seek safety, and that America is made brighter by our Muslim brothers and sisters who call this country home. The forces of hate and prejudice will not win. Not as long as MPAC is promoting Islamic values of mercy and justice and peace. Not as long as we turn out to vote our values in November. Not as long as everyone here tonight continues the charge to press for an America as good as its ideals and the kind of America that we know we all deserve. This work has never been easy. And more than ever, it falls to all of us to defend this nation's fragile progress and fight for civil rights and an inclusive democracy. Freedom always prevails, but not because it is inevitable. Freedom prevails because we stand boldly and bravely in the way of injustice, because we demand our nation's highest ideals over the politics of division, because we believe in love over fear, and because even in the darkest of days, we are standing up, we're litigating, we're organizing, we're in the halls of Congress, we're leading, and we will win. Thank you all for the great honor of being here tonight.